There are many games that we can play, but Fallout New Vegas is the only one that I feel can be used to properly display my sociopathic tendencies when I go through a depressive episode. So here it is, by result of community post, can you beat Fallout New Vegas with only grenades? In this playthrough, I'm only allowed to use grenades as a way of dealing damage. That means no snide comments to Lanius, and I can't make fun of Caesar's brain tumor. Emotional damage can be just as harmful as a pocket full of incendiary grenades. I forgot to record my character creation, but really that doesn't matter. Finding grenades is more important than my actual stats, so we start at Chet's shop. That sounds weird. And boy howdy, that was disappointing. That means I have to find grenades. The closest location would be the NCR Correctional Facility in Cell Block A, so I made my way over and we got 4 frag grenades. I made a friend, but it was an abusive relationship. She was a toxic manipulator. That's a lie. She only hit me. I discovered Hidden Valley and got even more grenades. Then decided to go to Vegas. I started towards the Good Springs path and thought to myself, oh, Cazadors. Right. And I turned around, opting for the route past Black Mountain. That way, I can also grab the NCR uniform conveniently placed by the bear traps and rocks. I found an NCR soldier smoking, then another one, and another. I then watched as the fourth succumbed to peer pressure. I considered a Legion playthrough, but realized my plans of killing them by supporting Big Tobacco and giving them all cancer would take far too long. I went to the Gunrunners to find grenades, but all I found was disappointment. You ever come home to see your wife in bed with her boyfriend and he forgot to plug in your switch? That's the kind of disappointment I was feeling. But as we know, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Instead, I went to Mick. The Irish really know their way with explosives, so he was my man. He was hesitant at first until I bought some sexy wear off of him and showed him my mannish figure. I coerced him and we got some grenades. I tested my newfound power on a local druggie with the promise of getting him some of that nar. Amazing life hack here. If they're dead, they can't collect the debt. Next, I tried the Van Graffs for some plasma and pulse grenades. They didn't have any for sale, just on display. Call me a troubled youth because I stole as much as I could from the main display of the store before the underpaid security guard took action, took aim, and took my life. But I'm persistent and kept going until I won. Another life hack. If trouble's got you down, usually drugs will provide a way out, one way or another. Eventually I escaped, down the road and through the ghetto. I decided my next step would be to take the monorail to get into the strip. I didn't care for the Kings. My Elvis phase died years ago when my girlfriend back in high school told me my sideburns weren't PogChamp. I still have night terrors about this exact moment. I met Mr. House, contemplated deeply on what to do next. I settled on finishing the tutorial and releasing the powder gangers from their earthly binds. Next, it was crime time. I'm a smart man with many skills. The Van Graff storefront was no match for my sheer willpower. I talk no jutsu my way. I talk no jutsu. I talk no jutsu my way through the front door, and like a sneaky snitch, I dispatched of John Baptiste and Gloria with ease. It absolutely didn't take me several failed attempts of sneaking and planting grenades, contemplating if using mines in conjunction with grenades would invalidate the challenge. I sold my spoils of war to the gunrunners, who again did not sell me grenades. I opted for an NCR-sided playthrough. While Yes Man is usually easier, I fear I wouldn't have the firepower to make all the factions hate me. I charged at Benny for dramatic effect, but got gunned down immediately, so instead I smacked his ass with a plasma grenade, and no one cared. I decided to kill Mr. House now, not because the NCR would have me do it later, but because I hated him. As I looked upon his greatness, I thought to myself, I don't care about your sexual preferences, just shut up and die quietly. And sure enough, he gave out a moan when I pelted his cerebrum with a grenade. That sick bastard. I got attacked by a Brahmin, triggering my PTSD from my previous relationship. Sure, it wasn't great, but she was my angry cow. With the house taken care of, I decided now was the time to take down the geriatric boomer that is Pearl. Xenophobic and smelling of oatmeal, I blasted her ass to the moon, or more accurately across her medicine cabinet. I decided to prematurely deal with the great Khans. I don't know the fastest way to Red Rock Canyon, but I'm positive someone will take issue with my stupid, roundabout way to get there, most likely commenting about how I'm a stupid console player. But little do they know, I'm actually rocking a 3060 graphics card. That's right, I'm not a stupid console gamer, I'm just inept at life. Once we made it to Red Rock, I entered the Longhouse and used method acting as a means to understand what damage I was about to inflict. I absolutely didn't muck things up. After dispatching of Papa Khan, I accidentally dropped a grenade right at my feet. I thought, this is it. Only for the wardrobe next to me to save my life, and that's on the durability of IKEA. I ran into Volpez on the strip. I could have let him live, but I also could have let Billy out of the burning building. Could've doesn't mean should've, nor does it imply would've. Ambassador Crocker got wind of the King's debacle, the one where I blew up their leader. He was not happy. That's okay though, because now it's time to please Colonel Moore. But first, I made contact with Veronica and prepped her for when I'd need assistance killing her friends and family. Private Kowalski did not appreciate me throwing a pulse grenade at the memorial, or maybe I gave him brain damage, who's to say. I finally made it to the dam and met up with the colonel. Apparently, I hadn't dealt with the Great Khans harshly enough, so I returned for seconds. I went after Diane and Jack. I placed a grenade in Jack's pocket, but the explosion didn't kill Diane. It felt like some weird Algebra 2 question from high school. I don't have the mental capacity to understand Fallout New Vegas, so I threw a nade in there instead, and it did the job. I continued my massacre, interrupting the sleep of 3 men, or perhaps assisting them, I'm not sure. I decided to use some C4 to save on grenades. If you believe that invalidates this challenge, I totally and completely understand. Feel free to shame me in the comments. After genociding the poor and unfortunate Khans, I returned to my imperialist overlord, who now said Italians gambling is a no-no. I visited the Omertas with the intent of shutting down the operation run by Tony Lazzuto. This was my first time killing someone with a pickpocketed pulse grenade. This was a game changer. Now I can actually make use of these near-useless grenades. Long story short, Big Sal met the same fate as Pearl, Benny, and Volpez. These hands don't discriminate. Now is the time to make use of Veronica. She'd lead me into the fray, and I would lead it into oblivion. I stole the key cards, put in the code, punched the big red button, and ran. The Brotherhood of Steel went boom, and so did Veronica. With all my tasks done, it was now time to save the president. I reported for duty, killed an imposter, picked a pocket, exposed a conspiracy, and Mr. President flew off above all of us common folks. Now was the time. The Battle of Hoover Dam was now. Right after I resupplied at several vendors, and wowie, look at that, the first incendiary grenades of the playthrough. Me being an idiot thought they would be useful. They were not at all. Not in the fucking slightest. Now it was time for realsies. I reported to Colonel Moore and met General Lee Oliver. I hated talking to him so much that I promised myself my next playthrough would be a Legion one. I ran through legions of Legion. That was a bad joke. I tried to do some damage to help the boys out, but I had to conserve grenades for Lanius. Eventually I got some reinforcements. We fought, or really they did the fighting, I mainly ran. I made it to the Legion camp, immediately getting jumped by some lads. But my grenade spin technique is godly. I threw that motherfucker and it spun like a goddamn Rasengan. I took the uniform from a Legion soldier I killed, and started picking off the camp with sneaky pickpockets. Finally, it was time to begin the end. I confronted Lanius, as a hopeful young man thinking I'd be able to win. I immediately got thrashed, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but so goddamn many. It was pretty common that Lanius would end up tossing me through the air like the condom your mother's boyfriend used while your dad was working off in the mines. Similar to your dad, I didn't come home. That is to say, I needed a new tactic. I climbed the hill and took out his personal guard. I was joined by an NCR veteran. I have no idea where he came from, and he was badly hurt, but he's a pawn in this game of 3D chess. I think approaching Lanius from behind messed with the game. Whenever I attacked him, he'd run away. Maybe it was a glitch, or maybe it was a scripting error, or maybe I awoke the little boy Lanius, and he realized his mortality was limited. I was his reaper, and he was an old woman with tuberculosis, smoking her last cigarette. The frontal assault didn't work. The sneaky behind surprise also didn't work. I was genuinely losing hope. I thought I had to reload the game and buy more grenades. My damage output wasn't enough, and I was low on stim packs. That's when out of the blue, I realized something for the first time. New Vegas physics is absolutely fucked. I know this isn't groundbreaking news, but I never knew about this one glitch, this beautiful and silly mess. If two grenades explode at the same time or, fairly similar timing, it'll send the poor bastard in the vicinity to the moon. I didn't have the damage to kill Lanius, but gravity did. Fall damage ended up killing the Legate. I donned his mask and the king's drip and marched forward towards the gate, meeting General Oliver at the exit and informing him the battle for Hoover Dam had come to a finish. And I beat Fallout New Vegas with only grenades. More or less. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing. If you got any challenges you, the viewer, want to see, please let me know in the comments. I will be doing community polls as a way of making sure you guys get the content you want to see. Likewise, I also stream on Twitch if you want to see some more content live. Thank you again for watching.